My name's Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Hi, my name is Victoria Fennell, and I am a longtime resident of the Blue Hills neighborhood, and I'm speaking today with Councilman Larry Deutsch, who is a candidate for the Hartford City Council on the Working Families Party site. Welcome, Larry.
Thank you so much. A pleasure to be here.
I want to tell the viewers a little bit about you. You are a pediatrician and a city council member who, like many of people in this city, you immigrated to Hartford from Brooklyn, New York.
That's what we say. Yeah.
Yes. Not quite straight out of Brooklyn. You tell me that there was a little bit of a detour.
Just some educational years to become a teacher and then a medical doctor and then to do that here in Hartford.
Yes. And your involvement in public affairs dates back to the civil rights movement, the war protests. You were very involved in bringing the soldiers home from Vietnam, to boycotts to support farm workers and unions. And so I guess the question that most of the viewers would like to know is, how did you make the transition from a doctor, pediatrician, to a city councilman?
Well, Vicki, I appreciate it very much. You're going back into ancient history, which some of our younger viewers may not even remember. Basically, you go to school, you get wrapped up in social causes, as many people do, and at that time it was sadly at a war, and then there were other issues, and so basically after going to school to become a high school teacher, which I was for a while in some rough areas, then I went to medical school and basically became a pediatric doctor, and have practiced here in Hartford for 25 years or so. And one day I was giving a little lecture about universal health care, so everyone should be taken care of the way they should as a human right. And someone said, "Why don't you run for city council?" And so like a fool, I said, "Okay, fine, I'll do that." And so I got elected once and then twice, and who knows, next week, maybe a third time.
The third time is the charm.
And most of all, I'm very pleased to be running with some others on a team. And if nobody minds, I'll even start by holding this up, since it's kind of a political show. Let's see here, that works. You see that there are 5 people on this, which is a challenge to the established two-party system, which it used to be. It used to be all Democrats and Republicans, and now, as you see, Working Families Party is a third alternative for you to choose. So you see, I'm this guy here. There is going across. There is running as a team, Wilderness Bermudez, Levy Cardulis, who's the head custodian at Buckley High School, a very distinguished man. There's another person. He's a teacher at Annie Fisher, and Cynthia Jennings is an environmental expert and lawyer. She's also on city council now. So I try to say to people that it's not me myself that's running, but really as a team of people. And it's not in opposition to anyone else. And so again, if you don't mind my going on a little bit, and the producer doesn't mind, this is what your ballot will look like in just a very few days. You'll see it next Tuesday, November 3rd. It looks a little complex, but again, just to launch right into it, the middle part here is all city council, people running for city council. And many of them are truly excellent. You know, we don't put anyone down. Oh, the producer is excellent. Stan McCauley, I thank you. This is where I am. It's right here in the middle of the ballot. And you'll see
5C.
5C. You'll see some other very familiar and distinguished names. Familiar one is Nyesha McCauley, a very knowledgeable person. On our line, again, there's Cynthia Jennings, Wilderness Bermudez, Larry Deutsch here, Josh Blanchfield, a teacher, and Levy Cardulis, the man who's been engaged at Buckley and many other of our public schools, keeping them spick and span and in good operating order. So in this whole center section are city council people, and don't believe what anyone may say that you have to vote straight across. No, you can pick any 6 of these circles. You can pick one, you can pick just one, you can pick 2, or you can put all 6. Your ballot will still be valid no matter where you dance on this sheet here in the middle. Remember, way over on this side is our candidates for probate judge. These are the mayoral candidates. And way over on the other side for treasurer. And then constables and so on. So Vicki and I and Stan and all of us are interested in city council at this moment. And so again, I'll highlight this central section. You can put it anywhere you want, even in the same column, by the way. You could vote for 3 people in the same column if you wanted to. And the machine will register fine as long as you do anywhere from 1 to 6 in this middle section. I'm glad we got that in, and our producer is excellent once again in showing you the whole picture. Of course, we recommend, being working families, that you consider voting for all of it. That's what this button is. It's running as a team, really. Now, it happens that I've been on city council for 8 years, and I've learned a few things. On the other hand, there's time for also to have some new people, and we would really like to run as a team.
Now, a lot of people might not be familiar with the Working Families
Right.
Party, and from everything that I have read, they are concerned about the working family, the issues,
Right.
living wages, decent jobs, health care. I would say that a lot of it parallels is what the Democratic Party stands for. You want to elaborate a little bit more on the Working Families Party?
You can say that. There are many issues in common, and in fact, there may be some in common with the Republican Party.
Okay.
And I'd comment with a little humor that right here in this producer's room, there are all 3 parties represented on one sign or another. And happily so, because you need some variety and some strength. However, in working families, we're critical of the old 2-party system, where it bounces between Republican and Democrat, Democrat and Republican, and what we have said is often just business as usual, which is not doing the job for our city. It's one majority and one minority. And now for the first time in history, not only in Connecticut, but I think in the country, the majority and minority is not either just Republican and Democrat, but now includes working families. This button right here, Working Families Party, and it means what it says. Working families and putting families to work. That's what another slogan one of us recently concocted. It's on row C, which we've also made up, has to do with a challenge, with a change, with consent of the people governed. And again, not to go on too long, this is a third party which is ground up. It's not big money. It doesn't represent special interest, and it's not in the old game of I accuse you of this and you accuse me of that.
There seems to be, and also there seems to be a perception that it's a, quote, socialist party.
Well, not really.
Yes.
Look, it basically here, it's not that. On the other hand, we do believe in good government. And as people may know by now, I have some things I like to show people.
Larry always comes with props,
If you
and
don't-
this is very interesting. It's never a dull moment when you interview Dr. Deutsch. So,
Well, here, I've shown this on one other show. I apologize to anyone for repeat. This, for instance, shows DPH is our Department of Public Health, right?
yes.
And Office of Health Equity, by the way. I show it because this is what government should be doing. Government, you pay your taxes so the government gives you a service. In this case, the Public Health Department makes sure you don't get certain diseases by checking up on immunizations. The water supply is safe. When you see on a restaurant an A or B, it's because the Public Health Department has inspected that place and tried to make it safe for you. So this is what your taxes are supposed to do in a truthful and honest way, and sometimes they fall down. They're supposed to make the streets safe, supposed to have security in terms of good fire department and police department, public works, the public parks, and so on. So we do believe in a government that is responsive to the people and collects your taxes in a fair way.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't let the rich people off the hook, doesn't let the corporations get by like GM with paying almost no taxes and then threatening to leave the state and take jobs because they're not getting enough in their minds, and the poor people, our people, wind up paying for it. So we insist on good government. Another slogan is we need people inside the government, but also people outside. And if it's on the streets demonstrating, fine. Sometimes that's necessary. You have to press your government to do what they need to do, or you'll suffer a fist. and you'll be thrown out of office. And some people should be. Many people have told me that the whole city council and the mayor should be thrown out of office. And I say, maybe so. May even include me, who knows? Next week we'll find out. So,
now I have a question. You know, a lot of people don't understand the work of a councilman. There are 9 of them.
right.
6 we can vote for.
That's right.
I'm not quite sure why that 3 is kind of.
You just have to pick 6
Pick
out,
six.
Out of the field of 9. The way it
Okay.
is now, somebody figured you don't want to fill in 9 circles, so you pick the best 6 that you think, or the best 1 or 2. You don't have
Right.
to vote all 6. That's the system.
Right. Now, I know you've done a lot of things on the city council, and because you are a medical doctor, you have done work. You're the voice, really, of the city's, the city council's Health and Services Committee. That's
Right.
one of the committees that you chair.
That's right.
Correct. And so, what does that committee do, briefly, in a nutshell? And what are some of the things that you have accomplished on there for our city?
Well, all right. If nobody minds again.
Okay, not a problem.
The city government, as I've just said, is supposed to give people a helping hand. They're supposed to protect their health, serve the people, and by the way, that's the best slogan I know for many years. Serve the people. That's what we're supposed to do, and if we fail to do it, we should be out of office, myself included. If we don't do a good job, we should be out. We're supposed to give people a helping hand, right? We're supposed to give people a helping hand so that people are served as they should be, you know, as they should be. And if they fail to do that, watch this, I haven't done this before.
Okay.
If they fail to do that, they should be thrown out with a fist.
Wow, that's pretty radical.
Right. And also, by the way, again, not just symbolically, but Working Families is running 5
5 candidates, yes.
5 candidates. Now, again, this is a challenge. There are some people in the majority party Democrats who don't like that at all. If we stayed cozy in our 3 that we have now, with that it'd be fine with some people. So this is just a commentary of some things that we feel we should be doing. Also, again, since I'm on a roll here, I hope again the producers don't mind. We have seen that people should vote actively, and this shirt, democracy is not a spectator sport. That means don't sit back and watch what happens and then complain the city council is doing nothing good.
That's right. You have to participate. That means showing up. That means
Right.
talking to the council persons. That means giving the council persons information on different issues that they may be working on.
Right.
One of the other things that is coming up in the news is something that you have been very aware of, you've been very vocal on, and that is two things actually: the Hartford Baseball Stadium and the now Dillon Stadium debacle.
Right. Well, one of the things that we should do is make sure that taxpayers' money, especially our money in this little city, is not wasted on fraud, inefficiency, and out-and-out crime.
Right.
And now it turns out, for the baseball stadium, we most of us on Working Families, not all, most of us have disagreed because it's the people paying a lot of the cost of that stadium, not the owners, not the ones that are profit. And though they say that the baseball stadium will bring all this business around it, you know, a supermarket here, now they want a hotel, which they just
And there's
threw in
already a
everything.
hotel there, if I'm not
There are
mistaken.
hotels-
Yes.
There are, there are
Throughout the
hotels
city.
in walking distance that are
Yes.
not full.
Yes.
And yet the developer just last week said, instead of having all the apartments and stores and stuff that we planned, let's put a hotel there. Well, this is ridiculous, and it wasn't part of the original plan that people bought onto and agreed with. And they thought when they had a baseball stadium, well, even if we're not paying, there'll be all the spin-off stuff, you know, all these stores and houses, which they originally wanted at market rate.
Right.
They wanted it for the wealthy people that can afford-
$3,200, I think it was a month for rents.
They wanted all those new apartments downtown to be market rate until we complained. We said, what about affordable housing? What about housing for the elderly?
That's right.
You know, some people said, look, are we going to have a lot of, you know, upcoming, let's say, people between 20 and 40 living there who work in insurance companies and they can double up and pay? What about the rest of the community of Hartford? Can't they live downtown also by having housing that's affordable? available to families and elderly, and not just a target audience that typically lives in a gentrified, high-class downtown.
Well, the whole thing was, Larry, it was a deal that was done in secret.
Right.
And I know that you led opposition to that. Your position was, why is it? It's our money. Why is it? Why are you doing this in secret? And your colleagues were very much gung ho about this project.
That's right. They said,
much to the dismay, and we have to take a break now.
Oh.
So we have to come back, and we'll be back in a few moments. Thank you. And we're back, and I'm here. We're continuing our discussion with Dr. Larry Deutsch of the Hartford City Council, who's running for re-election on the Working Families Party slate. Welcome back.
thank you. So we were just saying that one of the things of government is to ensure people get the truth.
Right.
If the politicians and the business people, businessmen usually, don't give the truth, then somebody should ensure that they do. And the government, for instance, even has laws that you're not supposed to lie about medicines and things like that in their ads, not always enforced. The thing is, when it's profit-driven, and this is what working families, most of us have to say, the services that you get and what you hear should be truthful and fair. That means people should not be subject to rip-offs. And so the first thing about the baseball stadium is said, we're fine with baseball. We like baseball, we like soccer and so on, but not if the owners and the businessmen, usually men, rip off the taxpayers. It's supposed to be a public-private partnership, but usually, the private side does very well, and the public gets, what should I say, kindly shafted.
That's right.
Ripped off.
And the deal has gone through several changes.
Right.
It appeared as though every time the public squawked,
That's
then
right.
all of a sudden there was a change.
Exactly.
And unfortunately, it wasn't a change that was benefiting any of us.
Right. The truth is, you should know that the way the mayor first proposed it, they would bond it and pay for it but then they realized it might have to go to a referendum.
Yes.
A referendum means a people's vote, and so they circumvented that within a week
through the creation of a
stadium authority,
yes,
which is kind of a middle body, not subject to a referendum where the people can vote yes or no on the whole shebang. So the baseball stadium got through with all these promises. Look, they said there's going to be a brewery, supermarket, all these houses on those empty parking lots. Do you see them? Where are they? They just announced last week that, well, we're going to, instead of doing it now, we're going to focus on the baseball stadium, wait until spring to get you to the supermarket, and even the brewery is backed off apparently. Some of this might change. But
and there's also been some controversy as far as the hiring practices
yes.
of the project. We're
right.
hearing that city residents are not being included in being hired for that position, for those positions. So there appears to be no accountability
exactly.
on the whole project. It was pretty much, you're on your own, guys. Knock yourself out.
That's right. One of the principal areas working families emphasize is to hire the people who live in the city, not people from out of town or even out of state. That means in terms of jobs. We want jobs for minorities, women, Hartford residents, and not simply shipped out and outsourced. For instance, if someone falls behind in taxes, we went through this just last night. Sometimes they sell tax liens to a company that could be as far away as Texas, which then collected the interest. And so we have pressed on that for now 4 or 5 years. And so they're giving away very slowly, but it failed last night. It was unusual. The motion to sell more of these tax liens failed because a couple people were absent, and 3 of us on council said, no, we've had too much of this, let's keep it in-house. And if someone can't pay their taxes, work with them.
Right.
You know, try to help them out. You don't want to just foreclose and seize their house, then you just get blight in the neighborhoods. So when you sell these tax liens, you know, it might be a quick fix and they get money. This is what the mayor has been doing, both mayors, for several years. We need to change that. So the ownership is kept right here in Hartford, and if someone needs help with their taxes, you don't let them off the hook, but you help them out.
Right. Part of the problem, from what I understand, is that the person in charge of taxes for the city of Hartford says that he doesn't have enough man and woman power in his office to be able to process those tax documents, I guess would be the word.
Right. So we believe in a government that's good and honest. Obviously, if you say government's no good and your experience has been there's been crooked, ripped you off, wasn't all the same old politicians, Democrat, Republican, Tweedledum and Tweedledee, year after year after year, of course, people get disillusioned and they don't vote.
Well, we see that. We see that in a lot of the elections that are held in the city, the primary, and I hope we don't see this with the general election, but we see voter turnout at very low rates. Right. And if you don't vote, how can you have a voice? How can change be made?
Right.
I mean, this is what people fought and died for.
Exactly.
And you can't just say, oh, I'm busy.
Right.
I got other things to do. No, this what the people that you vote for affect the day-to-day operations of the city. The mayor gets to appoint the police chief and all the department heads.
That's right.
So this is important.
You're right. And it's also true, we are trying to have department heads and many other people live in the city. And there's a rule to that extent, which the mayor has just ignored.
And there are other cities that adhere to that. I mean, if you, for example, New York City, if you want a job with the city of New York, you have to be a resident within 120 days, I believe, of accepting employment.
Right.
We don't have that here.
Right. So now we in Working Families, we don't mean to be, critical or opponents, no matter what party. It's more a matter of, people also tell me in the street, we have plenty of laws, we just don't enforce them.
Right.
We don't follow the laws, and that goes right up or down to the mayor's office, where council may pass some things and it's been ignored. We've asked for some information, and you have to go to Freedom of Information Act to get it, and even then it's tardy. And actually, last Friday, there was some information due about that new Dillon Stadium, which we didn't get. We asked for it, but sad to say, it's under federal investigation now. They mean business because they think that the Dillon Stadium, more recent thing, had some deals that were not on the up and up. And again, taxpayers are being ripped off. You should know all the hours that we wasted on a deal that turned out to be phony, and a high school student could have detected it, that the papers they gave, that how much they had $400 million or something like that, it was bogus. Someone could have done it on a typewriter in 15
probably
minutes.
did do it.
Yeah. Right. So first of all, we need honesty in government. Everyone would agree, whether they're Republican, Democrat, or Working Families or anything. You need truth. You need a policy that is serving the people. Again, that's been a slogan for years, and it should be the watchword. And the other thing I have to mention, being a little older, is still true, is power to the people. And that you either get through voting, and if that doesn't work, then you go out and demonstrate. We're not opposed to that, and that's how people can express themselves. And if the city or a corporation is not meeting their needs, then you show it instead of sitting back and complaining one by one. The other thing is, in unity there is strength. If I could here.
Yes.
I'm not shy about saying, especially Working Families, we're advocates for the people. And so in this case, again, if we can show it, this is a shirt that shows healthcare workers
And you've done quite a bit of work with 1199.
Yes. I mean, this is one very distinguished unit, people that take care of people when they're in nursing homes and hospitals. And so they felt that they had to go out on strike. The other side of this shirt was a Spectrum strike, which took place in Hartford for many years. We're not ashamed of saying that we emphasize the needs of working people and unemployed people and homeless people.
Right, and you've done quite a bit of work with the homeless here in the city. I remember reading about Marshall House being shut down. Well, the funding had been cut, which would have been led to, and that's a shelter that I understand houses families.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you know,
one of the few in the city, correct?
Yeah, sometimes when people want to cut the budget, they say, oh, we don't have enough money. They make, you know, it got to be a hard choice, and sometimes they have to sacrifice it. Well, don't let the politicians decide what has to be cut, what's important, what isn't. It's up to all of the people, all of you, to say, if you're going to cut the budget, cut out the highly paid people, cut out all these out-of-town consultants, cut out the waste. Let workers have a role in the decisions, and not just upper management that gets paid 3 times as much as what the workers on the front line do. You know, many workers are capable of making decisions, whether they do sanitation or other kinds of work in the city. They don't necessarily need 3 levels of management up above them, and sometimes they're good and sometimes they ignore the needs of working people. So we think even within city government, it could be efficient and consider the needs of working people and have enough of them in the offices and on the streets without saying we don't have enough money for a shelter. This is ridiculous that they put people out on the street instead of looking at other ways to protect them and use the tax money wisely. I mean, I know I've said a lot. I apologize.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But you know, that's one of the great things about you, Larry, is that you are a thoughtful and council person. You're very hardworking, and so at this point, you know, one of the things that when I've spoken to other candidates is you want to go back. And I'm sure after people hear this interview, they're going to want to send you back, because I think it's very important that we have the best people representing the city, and you certainly have demonstrated your willingness to, in some cases, buck the system in favor of the people, much to the dismay of some of your colleagues. But change is never easy, and change has to come. And so one of the things that people have probably received by now is a mailer from the Working Families Party. I know you've gotten it by now. There's also shows you how to vote, row C, and all the names that are listed. So if you've got this sitting somewhere, I'd advise you to take it out and look at it and get more additional information. So Larry, we're going to make the closing argument. Why should city residents send you back to the Hartford City Council? And what will you do differently, or will you do things the same way?
No, we can't do things the same way, because we have made plenty of mistakes. I mean, we have to admit there are some votes we lost that if we had been a little more sensitive, we might have won. However, even as a minority, first we ran 3 and we got 2. The first election, that was 8 years ago. The next election, we ran 4 and we got 3 in. This election, we're running 5, and maybe we'll get all 5, or maybe, who knows, 4, or even only 3. But you need someone to shake things up with a voice that says we want the truth, which is the first thing that I encountered. Almost got thrown out of a meeting because I insisted that when they went through a city council meeting, instead of saying item 1, yes or no, item 2, item 6, item 12, that at least they tell people what the item was about. People at home, people watching on Access TV or in the audience. The old way, before we came in, it wasn't televised, and they would just give the items by number. And I said, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, at least tell the people what we're voting on so they understand. And he said no, and I said yes. He said no, and he almost had me ejected from the meeting. Well,
And he's not running again, is he?
No, that was a previous president.
Oh, okay. Well, he's not there anyway, right?
Right. And the newspaper said a peculiar thing. You know, they criticized the way I acted, but they said, on the other hand, he has a point. The public needs the full truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and we haven't gotten that, especially in the recent few months with all this garbage about stadiums supposed to benefit taxpayers and people all over the city, North End, South End, West End. They say, how are we going to benefit when these private owners, you know, open a new fancy stadium? They either can't afford to go or they take the profit, and the taxpayers wind up paying for the, you know, the police protection, the roads being fixed, the cost overruns. Again, you, the taxpayers, are going to be charged millions of dollars extra because they had cost overruns. So there's a whole lot to be said. I do agree you should vote on row C. You know, down here across wherever it shows. I think it's all honest people. But on the other hand, there are honest people elsewhere. You have to say we're not opponents. Even if we have some good people on different party lines, they can be wonderful people, and you have to make up your mind. We don't want to criticize or throw mud, at other people who have worked hard and are decent, and deserve your vote.
But the bottom line is, bottom line is, Larry, you need to go back,
right,
and you're going to continue doing what you've always
right,
done, which is researching the issues,
right,
speaking out, standing up for Hartford residents.
Right, and we would say, I'd have to add this. It's not a matter just of the individual. You can have a good individual, but you also need power. You need political power. And sometimes that comes with a party structure, but again, sometimes that comes from the streets, from the unions that exercise the power of the people. Power of the people is still a good slogan, so don't get hung up on individual personalities.
So now it's basically in the hands of the voters on Tuesday. So vote.
Fine. Please, yes, by all means vote. Consider everyone carefully. Don't accept any line. You have to vote all one line or this, that, the other thing. Take the truth. You can have 6 votes. You can use either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, anywhere in that middle section that we showed. I thank the producer, and the variety that's here, all the diversity that's not only in this room but in the city of Hartford. Thank goodness. And so please turn out and get your friends and family and everyone to come and express your will, your power.
That's it. Thank you very much.